The 7 levels of Jujutsu Sorcerers.
Level 1. Walking trash cans.
At the very bottom of our totem pole, we have borderline normal civilians. These are some of the weakest characters in the entire verse. Some examples are Junpei, the GOAT, Momo, and Mai. These guys are quite possibly some of the least effective fighters the world has ever produced. Firstly, Momo, a weird witch girl who can summon winds at insane speeds with barely more strength than a fart. Higher tier characters barely have to use even like 0.00001% effort to negate this. Then also from the Kyoto school, we have Mai, Maki's younger bum-ass sister. She has barely any curse energy, and her curse technique is creation. But because she's so shit at it, it takes everything within her to just barely create 1 extra bullet a day. So she uses a revolver to create confusion so her opponents count 6 bullets, and then she can shoot a secret 7th. Sounds cool on paper until you realize a Call of Duty extended mag is more effective than her entire existence. So yeah. The Kyoto school honestly is filled with such bums, it's kind of tragic. Mekamaru straight up sends these guys on a mission elsewhere during the Shibuya attack since he knew all of them would insta-die if they were to go, with the sole exception of Aoi Todo, of course. I would say these guys are grade 4 level, and if we were to search up what grade 4 means, it literally says a wooden bat would suffice. Not even joking. If you give me Maki's glasses to see curse sets, I'd actually exercise more than both these bums. And I'll take it a step further. Without any weapons, I'm fairly confident I could 1v1 both Momo and Mai in a hand-to-hand combat fight. Actually, fuck it. I bet I could 2v1 them. That's how shit they are. And then finally, Junpei. Junpei is an emo kid slash redditor that was given the slightest amount of power and went full school shooter. But that's a story for another day. He's just still a grade 4 default shitter.
Level 2. Mess Sorcerers.
Next up in level 2, we have the meh sorcerers. They aren't completely bottom of the barrel like level 1, but they're not that much better. Sorcerers like Nobara, Haruta, and Inumaki are just a few examples. They can do a lot of small skill shit, but when we need someone for serious threats, these guys are just not the people you call. Firstly, Inumaki, he's a cursed speech user, which allows him to say command words people must follow. Seems like an OP ability at first, until you realize it really is only effective against people on his level or weaker than him. If he tries to use it on anything more powerful than him, the recoil effect will kick in, literally blowing up his throat in the process. I just feel having such a downside to your ability is kind of cheeks. But this is more as a solo fighter. In groups of other people to help support them, he's probably way higher, but you know, by himself, nah. Like I said before, this is kind of an OP ability for when he fights something weaker than himself. He could just say off yourself and you'd have no choice but to oblige, or even worse, he could make you solo queue Valorant all day.
For every kill you get, I'll give you an ooh.
Alright, bet.
Oh my god, I'm so nervous.
Oh my god, the horrors! Now, one of our main trio characters, we have Nobara. Nobara actually has some cool moments here, but I just couldn't in good faith put her to level 3 after her abysmal performance against this walking they-them ape. She lost badly to this absolute giga bum, and that's just an unforgivable sin I can't overlook, and because of that, she belongs in level 2. Other shitters in here include Haruta, obviously, Miwa, and just other mid-sorcerers.
Level 3. Great Sorcerers.
Now, finally, in level 3, we are getting to some respectable tiers of strength. These sorcerers are either low to mid tier 1 grade sorcerers, but they also have potential or flashes of special grade strength. First off, we have the perfect example of a grade 1 sorcerer in Nanami, a serious guy who wields a blunt curse tool where he focuses on hitting basically like crits on anything in order to deal extra damage. Regularly able to go toe-to-toe with special grade curses and perform relatively well. He also held the previous record for most consecutive black flashes, being 4 in a row until a certain someone shattered that record. Then 2 characters that I would put at level 3, but have much higher peaks, are Megami and Mekamaru. Yeah, I know, Megami is potential, man. But it still is true regardless of how much of a bum he is. All on the topic, may as well get to him first. He's one of the smartest fighters in the entire show, showing his high battle IQ time and time again, outsmarting Reggie winning the fight, and actually stalling against Toji for what seems like at least a few minutes, which is actually insanely impressive considering what he did to Dagon in the same amount of time. He also is the first character on our list to have a domain. Having a domain almost instantly makes you a contender for top dog in the verse. Unfortunately, compared compared to almost every other character in the show, he is arguably one of the weakest domains. A domain grants the user the ability for their curse technique to guarantee the hit no matter what. The problem is, in Megumi's case, that either means his rabbits or elephants attacks land. I mean, not saying it's nothing, obviously, but compared to some of the other busted domains, it's not that good. But regardless of a domain's offense, just having a domain is also super useful for countering someone else's domain. The ability to be able to turn off the guaranteed hit effect by laying out your own domain just can't be understated how important that is. But speaking of curse technique, this is where Megumi gets the most interesting. His curse technique is the 10 Shadows technique, which means he gets granted the ability to summon 10 different Shikigami to fight for him. We have Birdie, Mr. Frog, Bunny Wabbit, Doggy, and 8-handled sword divergent seal of divine general Maharaga. Maharaga is a fucking godlike Shikigami who has the ability to adapt to any and all phenomena it encounters. The only way to kill it is to completely eviscerate it with an attack powerful enough to kill it on first use. The only problem is, in order to have Maharaga fight by his side, he would need to 1v1 it in a ritual, and if he kills it, he can use it. The problem is he literally can't kill this thing, so if he summons it, it won't really be a victory, more like a draw. But yeah, the other character in this tier is Mechamaru. Typically in his robot suit, he's almost a grade 1 or low grade 1, but like Megami, he has an ace up his sleeve. When he activates this absolute Giga form, where he stores cursed energy for multiple years, he can pilot his Giga mech to fight with him. Kenjaku says he's special grade with this suit, but that's just Giga cap. He couldn't even beat Mahito, so no, he's not special grade, but he's still like a high grade 1 in this form. Really quick, don't want to bother anyone from the video, but I do have a Patreon in the link in the description below where I react to JJK, One Piece, Baki, and of course, you know, Blue Lock. Every day there'll be something. It's less than 1 Starbucks drink a month. So if that sounds interesting, check it out.
Level 4. Extremely powerful sorcerers.
Now we've made it all the way to level 4, and we are reaching frightening levels of power now. These are the highest end of grade 1 sorcerers, and most of these guys can even pose a threat to, even if small, to some of the lower special grade sorcerers. Characters like Naoya, Todo, Kusakabe, Higuruma, and fuck it, I'm tired of the glaze. I'm also putting Geto in this tier. I'm aware he's technically special grade, but I'll get to him at the end of this level. First off, we have the unslanderable GOAT himself, Todo. Quite possibly the only character in this entire show to have 0 haters. A Giga Chad with a super sick curse technique, Boogie Woogie. By clapping his hands, he can switch the positions of 2 things with curse energy, whether that be him and the enemy, his teammate and the enemy, or even someone with an inanimate object imbued with cursed energy. He really shines in group fights when he can cause insane mass confusion. And after losing an arm to Mahito and Shibuya, he attaches a Vibra Slap to his arm, as he can now swap up to 50 fucking positions a second. Holy shit, how do you even fight against this? Also, another good question is, how could Todo himself keep up with this type of shit? Simple. His brain is just stronger than any PC on Earth with an insane 530,000 IQ. Keep in mind, Albert Einstein had an IQ of 160. For a human to be considered mentally Riri, they would have to have an IQ of 70 or lower. So, if the difference from that sped kid in your class to Albert Einstein is only 90 IQ points, imagine how smart Todo is, being over 500,000 IQ points smarter. Also, bro has a 100% win rate in the show. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Next up, though, is Higuruma. As we are seeing in the anime currently, this guy is a Giga Prodigy who within only 12 days of awakening already became grade 1. His domain is also super cracked because, as we know, if he gets the Executioner Blade, he can literally one-tap anything it touches. He also has a reverse curse technique, and is claimed to be a prodigy as talented as Gojo himself. Next up is Kusakabe. I don't know. He's just stated to be the strongest grade 1, so I'll, take that as you will. Next is Naoya. The outspoken women's rights advocate is obviously here, but I'm not going to get into him as much because it's not as interesting. The person I actually want to talk about more is Geto, the fraud special grade. Now, in the show, being a special grade doesn't really have to do with individual strength. It just means you have the ability to take over a nation by yourself. Like, even fucking Principal Yago is going to be named special grade because of his ability to create cursed corpses, since they were scared he could make an army. So that's the actual only reason Geto is special grade, since he could theoretically have an army of cursed spirits with his curse technique. But let's be so for real, he would get instantly folded by any of the other 3 confirmed special grades. First off, Bro doesn't even have a domain. What is Lil Bro gonna do when any domain clash happens? The next tier, level 5, is what I would classify as low special grade. And literally anyone in that tier could farm Ghetto. So honestly, if we're gonna go on just individual strength, I don't think he's much stronger than anyone. And even level 4, honestly, he literally loses to Yuta, who just became a sorcerer. What a shitter. My point is, ranks in JJK don't directly compare to strength. So yeah, level 4 are the top grade 1 sorcerers with immense strength that very few sorcerers will ever get to.
Level 5. Monstrous levels of strength.
Next up, guys, we have a level 5. These are the walking catastrophes that when walking into any room, they're probably the strongest person there. I would classify all of these guys as low special grade. Characters in this tier include Hikari, Urame, Toji, Maki, and finally, Yuji. In my opinion, the two weakest are Hikari and Urame, but even then you could argue against that. Hikari is definitely an interesting character to scale because of how weird his ability is. His character fully revolves around gambling, and no, I'm not joking. He even has a femboy girlfriend because, well, you can't play slots without a lever. And he's definitely a weird character to scale because he's so RNG based. When he pops his domain, it constantly spins until he hits a jackpot, in which for 4 minutes and 11 seconds, he's granted infinite cursed energy, which literally makes him immortal. And as we saw in the Kashima fight, this is straight up insane. Kashima shoots lightning into his head, about to pop his brain, when the infinite cursed energy shoots it back out of his nose to keep him alive. The other reason he's near unkillable is because hitting jackpot gives him infinite cursed energy, as I've said 10 times, which means he can pop his domain back to back to back to back to back to back without any drawbacks. Most characters use domain once and they're worn out. Not my go though. And you know, obviously the reason I scale Urami at the same level is because, you know, they fight off screen for dozens of chapters and we see it ended in like a stalemate. Then slightly higher, I have Toji and Maki, two fighters with equal strength and equal speed that have heavenly packs, which take all of their cursed energy away in exchange for insane physical abilities. We saw in the beginning of the season 2 that literally only characters in the top of the verse can stand up to this type of power. Toji walked in, massive cock out, swung left, slapped Gojo and Geto, 2 special grades down, no diff. Curses like Dagon, who can single-handedly low diff multiple grade 1 sorcerers at once, still get treated like a nut rag in the face of Toji's power. I think Toji and Maki would be characters like Urame and Hikari only because of their speed. Naobito was confirmed to be the second fastest sorcerer, only behind Gojo, and even still, Toji could have easily wiped him out with the entire Zenin clan if he wanted to. Maki, who hadn't fully awakened yet, even did it herself. So if Toji and Maki can speed blitz characters faster than Hikari, then sadly I just see the fight between them going in the favor of them getting instantly beheaded, in which case, you know, the regen doesn't do much. The other special trait granted to Toji and Maki is the fact that they have 0 curse energy, so domains are completely useless against them since they can't be detected. And then finally, at the absolute top of level 5, we have end of series Yuji. You could maybe argue him level 6, but I think he gets out hacked and out bullshitted by everyone in the level 6 tier. End of series Yuji is arguably a top 1-2 fighter in the entire verse when it comes to fight sense. Can use blood manipulation, reverse curse technique, Sukuna shrine technique, delayed punches, soul punches, simple domain, the best black flasher in the show, one of the sturdiest bodies in the verse, arguably the strongest body without cursed energy, as well as probably faster than even Toji or Maki, and also finally has a domain that seems to rain down soul dismantles. Yuji absolutely bodies everyone on the list underneath him and is truly a complete monster, standing at the absolute near pinnacle of Jujutsu sorcery. And keep in mind, Yuji has gone from absolute default human tier to near top of the verse within only 6 months. Genuine fucking monster.
Level 6. Generational super prodigies.
Everyone in this tier is a multi-country level threat and can solo 99.99% of the cast, no diff. Characters include the prodigy sorcerer, second only to Gojo Satoru and Yuta Akotsu, a 1,000-year-old sorcerer, supervillain Kenjaku, the waffled one Hajime Kashimo, and finally, the baddest bitch and also my wife, Yuki. Now when it comes to who's the strongest or weakest out of these 4, I'm not really in the mood of starting riots in the comments. All I'll say is this: I feel it's possible for any of these 4 to win against any of the other 3. I mean, in my mind, they're that relative in strength. No one here is massively stronger than the other. So first off, I'll talk about Yuki, one of the 4 confirmed special grades, and is massively stronger than Fraud Geto. Has probably top 1 to 3 most devastating punches, being insanely strong because of her curse technique, Mass. She can increase the massive shit, giving a super large boost to her power. Plus, being able to use reverse curse technique and a domain just makes her super scary. She's basically like a faster and stronger Toji that can heal herself and use a domain. We also saw in her fight against Kenjaku, she can straight up summon a fucking black hole. This was stated to have the power to literally destroy the entire planet if she didn't suppress it. Kind of weird to say, but Yuki is the only character in the entire manga with potential to actually just one-shot the planet. So, worst comes to worst, she has a super trump card like Megami that can basically guarantee a tie unless they have a super specific niche counter like for how Kenjaku did. Kenjaku beat her in a fight, but I don't think necessarily this even confirms he's stronger than her. Part of the reason she was so weak is she ate Kenjaku's domain to the face because she trusted Tengen with some nerd strategy that ultimately failed because he's a walking chud with no motion. I actually think Yuki outclasses Kenjaku in every category and would win more times than not if it went for one teensy little problem. Kenjaku's domain is barrierless like Sukuna's. As we saw in the Gojo Sukuna fight, having a barrierless domain is kind of cracked because usually you strengthen the inside of your domain so people can't escape, but if it's barrierless, it shreds your domain from the outside. It can't be understated how absolutely broken this shit is. Having a barrierless domain makes us like your top 5 to 7 in the verse by default, along with having the abilities of Geto, having an army of cursed spirits used in battle, or combine them into a single point of cursed energy. He can fire in a super strong blast called the Maximum Uzumaki. It also has gravity and anti-gravity powers on top of everything else. Overall, 2 high-tier special grade sorcerers. But next I'll talk about Kashimo, the god of lightning, an extremely fast fighter that can summon bolts of lightning to burn up his foes. In his base form, only manipulating the characteristics of electrical cursed energy, he's enough of a fighter to be at the strength level of level 5 characters, as we saw in his fight against Akari. But where Kashimo's strength really shoots from level 5 to 6 is when he activates his curse technique. Mythical Beast Amber is the technique of turning his flesh into raw energy. He can only use it once though, as it slowly kills him, but in this state his speed vastly increases, taking him to sub-light speed, possibly light speed, but I can't say for certain, as his flesh is, well, you know, energy. He can also shoot energy blast from his mouth like a cannon. Overall, he maybe peaks higher than everyone else in level 6. The only problem is, like I said before, he can only activate his technique once and he slowly dies from it. So when it comes to scaling, take that as you will. He also doesn't have a domain and we've never seen him use RCT, so there's a chance he even can't do that. But the person, if I had to pick to be at the top of level 6, is the child prodigy himself, Yuta Okkotsu. Mainly because in any fight, it's literally just a 2v1 when fighting with Rika. Having the Queen of Curses as your partner in a fight is straight up unfair. She has nearly boundless cursed energy, which she can give to Yuta to keep him fully charged. Her physical strength was enough to completely immobilize Yuji in the beginning of season 3, and she's just a true monster of a curse. Then there's Yuta himself, a prodigy with the curse technique of copy. By having Rika in just a piece of another sorcerer, Yuta can copy and use their curse technique for up to 5 minutes. In the Culling Game arc, we literally see Yuta go into the Sendai colony and absolutely farm 3 to 4 insanely strong curse users by himself. He also is fairly confident in his ability to take down Kenjaku in 1v1, which makes him relative by default. On top of also having a domain expansion, reverse curse technique, he's just a true monster. Once again, I can't stress this enough how busted it is for every fight you take to be a 2v1 by default when using Rika. Now, I said I wasn't going to rank them based on strength for the safety of my life, but I take that back. Lastly, I have Kashimo, mainly because in order for him to beat anyone in this tier, he needs to activate his curse technique. So even if he does win, he still dies, causing it to be a draw in the end. Now, like I said earlier, he probably peaks a bit higher, but the downside of him having to die afterwards just holds it back too much, especially since I do see a world where the other 3 level 6 characters just stall long enough for him to burn up on his own. Then in third, we have Yuki. I think she overall has better stats than Kenjaku, but like I said, the barrierless domain is just busted. And then finally, at first, I have Yuta because his near infinite curse energy and the ability to make every fight a 2v1 is just too busted. But Yuta by himself is probably fourth.
Level 7. Godlike beings.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, the moment you were all finally waiting for. If the last characters were the peak of Jujutsu sorcery, these are the guys who just break the entire scale by themselves. Every single one of these guys could not just solo the entire verse, excluding the other level 7s, but they do it with extreme ease. The gap in power from levels 1 to 2, or 2 to 3, or like 5 to 6 is slightly higher every time, but the strength gap between level 6 and 7 is so unbelievably wide it can't be stated enough. Level 6 versus level 7 is like a monkey banging a drum trying to beat Magnus Carlsen in chess. It's just never gonna happen. Gods amongst mere mortals. Only characters in this list include Gojo, Sukuna, Dabura, and Modulo Yuji. When it comes to scaling, it's kind of hard to scale Modulo Yuji and Dabura from very few feats, but I'm going to do my best to rank these guys. Starting off with Dabura, the strongest alien warrior from the Sumerian ship that landed on Earth. It's kind of hard to scale him since we only get to see him fight one time, but in that one fight, we kind of have a decent idea of what he's capable of. First off, when he's introduced, they say he's a Sukuna level threat, but like, he's definitely insanely strong and all, but I'd still put him a tad bit below Sukuna and Gojo. And the one time we get to watch him fight, it's against Big Raga, the GOAT. Maharaga gets instantly blitzed with all these light attacks, as for the very first time in history, Maharaga begins adapting to an extraterrestrial technique. Dabura's curse techniques are blank and light. Apparently, blank is murderous intent given a tangible form that humans can't even describe in words. We see Dabura time and time again almost completely eviscerate Maharaga fairly effortlessly until his adaptation fully stops his light attacks. Maharaga pushes him to the edge, and this is where we realize this has never been in a real fight before because he was so strong. So in order to win this fight, he has to enter uncharted territory. He pushes his body like never before, reaching sub-light speed before blasting Maharaga, destroying nearly 99% of his being. But once again, he adapts. His leg is completely burnt off, and that's just when, randomly on the spot, he learns reverse curse technique. Then just thinks, what would happen if I put this new positive energy into my curse technique? As again, he just learns curse technique reversal on this spot. Then right after, he just, randomly learns domain expansion on the spot. I hate to say it, but Dabura might be the biggest prodigy in the entire Jujutsu Kaisen universe. Just learning all this shit on this spot like nothing. Also, side note, but this domain is actually tough as fuck. A few chapters later, we see Maharaga's wheel on the floor showing he was defeated, but I'm kind of confused if this was from Dabura or Yuji since it was off screen. The only reason I think it may not be Dabura is he literally says himself that Maharaga adapted to his entire existence. So if it really was him who killed him, I don't even know how that would work. Either way though, being able to nearly kill Maharaga as many times as he did, moving sub-light speed, plus learning reverse curse technique and domain expansion on this spot, and being compared to Sukuna just puts him to the level 7 tier. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we have the two characters everyone was waiting for, Satoru Gojo and Ryomu Sukuna. These guys are so much unbelievably higher than everyone else on the list, it's not even comparable. First, I'll talk about Gojo. Born with the Six Eyes and Limitless technique, he was the honored one. The balance of the entire world changed when Gojo was born. Limitless is one of the most busted curse techniques of all time. The normal technique, blue, is basically convergence. Something converging in math means getting infinitely closer without ever reaching it. I just recently graduated from college with a degree in mathematics, just for the sole purpose of explaining Gojo's technique to the masses. Imagine a sequence of numbers where the next term in the sequence is half of the previous. Half of one is a half of a half is a fourth to an eighth, all the way down to basically you could say 1 over infinity. This number will get infinitely smaller but never reach 0, so we would say it converges to 0. That's basically Gojo's limitless. The closer you get to him, the slower you go, and you end up never being able to touch him. You can also use it to suck things into it, or in other words, converge to a single point. Obviously, as one could surmise, this technique is busted when almost nothing except specific hacks and weapons can't touch you. You pretty much sold the verse by default. He also uses blue to bend space itself so he can fucking teleport, which everyone seems to forget. Then, when learning the reversal of his technique, he uses red. Red is the opposite of blue. Instead of converging, it's a divergent sequence. Instead of having your number, double it every time. 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16, all the way to infinity, and uses this to launch a powerful energy attacks at his opponents. So instead of pulling things in, it pushes them away. But the true terror happens when he mixes his convergence of blue with his divergence of red together to create imaginary mass, hollow purple. Instead of pulling or pushing, space itself collapses and anything in its path gets despawned from existence. But how can he constantly have enough cursed energy to manage all this? Well, that's where the Six Eyes come in. It allows him to see cursed energy at a near atomic level, giving him absolutely perfect control over his cursed energy. Because his control is near perfect, he barely uses any when attacking, giving him the ability to pop countless domains without issue. This takes a lot of energy from his brain though, so he is constantly using reverse curse technique to heal his brain. So basically his technique is on 100% of the time while he constantly refreshes his brain infinitely. And all of this is without even mentioning he is the absolute most cracked domain in the entire story, Infinite Void. When getting hit with Infinite Void, one gets sent infinite layers of infinite information sent in their brain constantly, basically turning them into a vegetable, unable to do anything. And if you're unable to wrap your head around the idea of multiple layers of infinity, the best way I can describe it is by looking at all the natural numbers. Obviously this goes on forever, but in between any 2 points on the number line, there's an infinite number of points between them. So yeah, Gojo is basically a hacks goat, and unless you're another level 7 character, your chances of defeating him in a fight are literally fucking zero. But now going to someone who did defeat him, we have the king of curses himself, Ryomen Sukuna, a god with 4 arms and 2 faces. In the golden age of Jujutsu, everyone joined forces to challenge him, and failed. Luckily, compared to Gojo, his curse technique is much easier to explain. Basically, it's just slashes. That's more or less the whole thing. But what makes him so powerful are his stats and fighting IQ. Sub light to light speed, bare minimum, has the most curse energy out of any character in the entire verse, has curse energy control nearly as good as Gojo, even without the 6 eyes. Plus, having 2 mouths and 4 arms makes him the perfect creature for Jujutsu. Being able to weave signs with 2 arms, saying incantations with 1 mouth, while still having another set of arms to fight with is just straight up broken. Also, one of the only 2 characters to have the divine feat of having a barrierless domain. Once again, during the Gojo fight, this proved to be such a broken ability. Opening a domain without a barrier is like trying to paint in the sky without a canvas. It's truly a divine feat. Plus his other ability in Fuga, basically just a fire arrow he can launch to nuke shit. And in the Gojo fight, after using Maharage, he gets the blueprint for the world-cutting slash, an attack so powerful it targets space and time itself. A slash so strong, Gojo's infinity does nothing as it slices through reality. These level 7 characters are so unbelievably strong. After his insane fight with Gojo, even being left on 1 HP, he was still strong enough to almost solo the entire verse at 1 health. That should show you the strength gap between level 7 and everyone else. A level 7 entity near 1 health is still like a planetary level threat. Yuta, Rika, and Yuji were fighting Sukuna in Yuta's domain, and claims that if Gojo hadn't weakened him so much, they would just get instantly folded. Now the final attack that let him beat Gojo was confirmed by Akutami himself, that it only landed because Gojo was convinced of his own victory, letting him get caught off guard, and that a normal Gojo would have dodged it. Now if you're a Gojo fan, you can call it plot armor. If you're a Sukuna fan, you can claim he's just smarter. But here's the thing, it doesn't matter. Because as a Yuji fan, I'm happy to say with certainty, neither Sukuna nor Gojo are the strongest. It's my glorious king himself, Wuji Himtodori. After living 70 years after the Gojo Sukuna fight, because of his body being a vessel for Sukuna's line, he will live hundreds of years and he's still in his prime. Future version of Yuji is a fucking monster. He's had 70 years to master Sukuna's shrine, and as we've seen Modulo, he is unreal with it at this point. He has all of Sukuna's abilities, Fuga included probably, and truthfully has a better version of Sukuna's slashes since he can target the soul, which you can't use reverse curse technique to heal from. Remember what Sukuna's blood manipulation looked like? Okay, cool. Now look at Yuji's. He airs out an entire building, like dozens of them, can perfectly control his blood to poison people, has by now fully perfected his upgraded soul malevolent shrine domain, maybe even has a barrierless domain, we have no idea, but it is possible. This one default dismantled seemed to cause a nuclear explosion stronger than Sukuna's Fuga and Gojo's purple combined, plus it also seems like he can black flash at will. Usually you have to be super locked in the zone to black flash, but Yuji pops out, hands in his pockets, hitting it first try. He truly was the one chosen by the sparks of black. For y'all who don't remember, Sukuna was able to shrug off most of Gojo's punches, no problem, but the one time he got hit with a black flash on Sukuna, bro took a fucking nap while standing, getting knocked out cold. So imagine a Gojo slash Sukuna level fighter where every punch is on that level. I mean, just wrap it up at this point. Sukuna was the strongest sorcerer in history. Gojo was the strongest of today. But finally, Yuji was the strongest of the future and of all time. It honestly seems like Modulo was only made for the sole purpose of upscaling and glazing Yuji, and I'm all here for it. Bro, fucking Mahito reappears trying to pop a domain on Yuji, and with his hands in his pockets, threw out millions of dismantles, eviscerating everything in sight. Sukuna never did shit like this, just saying. Overall, I think I've made my point pretty clear. Yuji is my GOAT, and all 4 of the level 7 characters are actual deities that stand head and shoulder above everyone else in the verse. The only way to kill a level 7 member is with another level 7 member, as all 4 of these guys could solo the rest of the entire verse, no sweat. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Once again, thanks to my GOAT Yuri for being in the special grade sorcerer tier of the Patreon, and yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.